We are live.
All right, thank you. Let's call this meeting to order. City Council, we're just going to read the closed session item and we'll go into recess. Mr. Clerk, can we have the roll call?
Councilmember Agajanian. Brotman.
Here.
Devine.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
Mayor Kasakian.
Here. May we please have the closed session item?
1A would be conference with legal counsel pending litigation, Badalian versus City of Glendale, USDC, case number 20CV08089, JWH-JEM.
Thank you. Mr. Garcia, do you expect to be reporting out on this item?
We do anticipate reporting out on this item, Mr. Mayor.
With that, we will recess at 5:03 to close session. Welcome to the City Council meeting of April 12th, 2022, being called to order at 6:05 p.m. We are more or less back to in-person meetings, although for those who wish to continue following and watching from home, and allow me to clarify this with our either city manager or clerk, are we still accepting telephone calls for public comment and oral communication? Multiple heads are nodding, which means yes, you can still call in to the city council meeting for comments, but and also follow us online, GTV6, Roku, and all that stuff, which I don't have, but I will have next time. Anyways, let's have the roll call.
Councilmember Agajanian.
Present.
Brotman.
Here.
Devine.
Here.
Najarian.
Here.
And Mayor Kasakian.
Here, thank you. We have a special recognition today for Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. So we have some special guests in the council chambers. I'd like to, before we invite them up, I want to invite Christine Kazazian-Wilson from the City of Glendale to lead us in the flag salute. Please stand and remain standing after the salute for the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Please remain standing for tonight's invocation. Dear Heavenly Father, as Easter approaches, we pray the renewal of life brings new blessings of love, hope, peace, good health, and happiness for all. May we celebrate the true meaning of Easter with our loved ones with abundant joy and laughter. May you fill our hearts with compassion and never-ending bliss. Finally, we pray for the spirit of unity, love, and peace across our community, staff, council, and the mayor this holiday. We pray for all this in your name. Amen.
Thank you. May we have the report of the city clerk?
The agenda for the April 12th, 2022 regular meeting of the Glendale City Council was posted on April 5th, 2022 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And under presentation and appointments at 3A, we have the agenda preview for the meetings of Tuesday, April 19, 2022. I will turn now to Mr. Galanian or Mr. Tuktalian.
Good evening, Mayor Kasaki and members of the City Council. Next week, we'll start off with a special meeting in the afternoon. That'll be a special meeting of the City Council. There's one item on there from Community Development that's related to the Alex Theaters Lease and Management Agreement. In the evening, there's a number of consent items. At 4A will be a report from Glendale Water and Power regarding award of a professional services agreement with Harper and Associates as well as Perliter Consulting Engineers for some water storage rehabilitation projects. That'll be followed by two reports in Public Works. The first regarding the City of Glendale's Measure R sub-regional program update, and the second report is regarding specifications to install a citywide battery backup systems project related to traffic signals. 4D would be a report from Community Services and Parks regarding the award of a contract for landscape maintenance at general governmental facilities, and the final consent item will be from our Office of Management Services regarding accepting some grant funds for the Glendale Commission on the Status of Women. Under action, we have two quick ones. Public Works will provide a report to accept some low-carbon transit operation program grant funds. That'll be related to an electric bus charging infrastructure. And the final item that evening is from Water and Power regarding various Grayson Power Plant on-call maintenance contracts.
Thank you. 3B is, Mr. Clerk, would you read that into the record?
Proclamation, National Public Safety Telecommunications.
All right, thank you very much. So this is my first proclamation as mayor, and it is my honor and privilege to be presenting it to the brave men and women who represent our public safety divisions and recognizing Public Safety Telecommunications Week. I will read this and then ask Councilmember Najarian to present it to those who have come here to accept it. And I believe we have Lieutenant Wofford and Battalion Chief Ambrose, if you would like to approach the podium. And the proclamation reads, whereas across the nation in times of intense personal crisis and community-wide disasters, the first access point for those seeking all types of emergency assistance and homeland security information is the 911 Center. And whereas the Glendale Police Department and the Verdugo Fire Communications Centers that receive these calls have emerged as the first and single point of contact for persons seeking immediate emergency assistance and are expected to multitask under emergency conditions with compassion, accuracy, and professionalism throughout the year. And whereas this week, celebrated annually, honors the thousands of men and women who respond to emergency calls, dispatch emergency professionals and equipment, and render life-saving assistance to the citizens, residents, and visitors to the City of Glendale. Now therefore, I, Artie Kasakian, Mayor of the City of Glendale, proclaim April 10th through the 16th, 2022 as National Public Safety Telecommunications Week in Glendale, and congratulate the dedicated and hardworking members of the Glendale Police Department and the Verdugo Fire Communications Centers for their ongoing outstanding service rendered to our community. Signed by myself on this date, April 12th, 2022, and I'll ask Councilmember Najarian to present this to you. And while he's coming down, we'll give you a And I think before you go anywhere, Councilmember Najarian, I think you have a photo op. Camera? Yeah. All right, sure. Are we standing?
Come on over, Dan.
with the official council photo bomb complete. Wait, before everyone's leaving too soon, is there anyone who would like to say a few words? Maybe introduce yourself by name and your division? So the public gets to know the friendly faces we have working for our city, the wonderful staff.
Mr. Mayor, esteemed council members, staff, and members of the audience, we want to thank you for this opportunity to be here this evening. We take pride in the work that we do serving the city of Glendale as the police department dispatchers do, and for the Verdugo Fire Communications, we serve 13 agencies. So tonight is a great night that we are here accepting this proclamation from you, and we wanted to say thank you for supporting us. It's a pleasure to work with you all. Tonight I have Chief Ambrose, who leads Verdugo, Sergeant Wofford, who leads the Glendale Police Dispatch. We have, they're brand new, Leah and Leslie from GPD Dispatch, and Wendy, who just finished a year of probation with Verdugo.
Thank you, and thank you very much for all that you do for the citizens. What is next?
4 would be consent items. The following are routine and may be acted upon by one motion. Any member of council or the audience requesting separate consideration may do so by making such request before motion is proposed.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, one moment. Councilmember Devine and then Councilmember Agajanian.
I'd like to pull items 4D and E, please.
and I would like to pull 4B.
4B. All right, that leaves items 4A and C.
yeah.
Is
So I
there,
would move the balance of the calendar, consent calendar for approval.
thank you. Is there a second? Moved by Councilmember Agajanian and seconded by Councilmember Brotman. May we have a roll call?
Councilmember Agajanian?
Yes.
Brotman?
Yes.
Devine?
Yes,
Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Kasakian.
Yes. May you please read 4B into the record?
4B is community development regarding authorization of amendments to the professional service agreement with Crandall Arambula for the West Glendale Sustainable Transportation and Land Use Study regarding multifamily mixed use and tropical center plan objective design criteria project utilizing SB2 grant funding. 1, motion authorizing the city manager or his designee to execute an amendment to the professional service agreement between the city of Glendale and Crandall Arambula for the West Glendale Sustainable Transportation and Land Use Study to increase the contract amount by $102,000 for a new maximum not to exceed total of $676,320.
Mr. Mayor, I'm just having problem with always, there is a contract, and then there is amendment to it. I mean, this is the only problem I have. There's this contract for $500,000, and we add $100,000 to it. And this is what, as an engineer, when people, they would say, get in first, and then you will add to it. This is what I'm worried. It happens. My concern is not this specific one, is general concern that I'm raising here. That I'm worried when a contract we have signed, but little by little, the fees or what the contract amount is going higher and higher. I just want it to be on the record. I do not need any more explanation. I just want to be on the record. Thank you.
Seeing as to how Councilmember Agajanian just wanted to be on the record and does not require a explanation, do you wish to provide an explanation, Mr. Galanian or Mr. Calvert? I mean, if you don't, that is fine. We can have a motion and a
I
second
would
and
move
vote.
the item for B.
Is there a second?
Second?
Okay. Is there any discussion on this before we have a roll call? Okay. Let's have the roll call.
Councilmember Agajanian?
Yes.
Brotman?
Yes.
Devine?
yes,
Najarian?
Yes.
Mayor Kasakian.
Yes. And just lest anyone think that we were trying to dampen the dialogue on that, the reason for the increases in the report, it is in regard to additional work that we're requesting and a modification of how information is presented on those specific project items. And anyone can obviously just read those reports, follow it. If you have further questions, our staff is always prepared to answer them. Thank you, Mr. Agajanian. Item D and E, can you please read those together, and then we'll vote on them separately, Mr. Clerk?
Sure. Public Works regarding adopt plans and specifications for the Maintenance District 6 pavement rehabilitation Phase 1 project. One, resolution adopting the plans and specifications for the Maintenance District 6 Pavement Rehabilitation Phase 1 project. Specification number 3876, Plan Notes 130863158249254, and directing the city clerk to advertise for bids. E would be Public Works regarding adopt plans and specifications for the Broadway Rehabilitation Project Resolution adopting the plans and specifications for the Broadway Rehabilitation Project. Specification number 3785, plans number 13075, 49242, 50691, 50692, 50693, and directing the city clerk to advertise for bids.
Boy, am I glad that you're the one reading these nowadays and not me.
All those numbers.
Would you like
Yes.
to say a few
Well,
words?
sure. I asked for a brief report on these two items because we often get complaints about our streets and that we're not doing anything to improve them. And I think there's a lot of work that's being approved tonight for our streets. And I just wanted Mr. Imrani to give the residents that are watching and those that are here an idea of how much work we are doing and also, of course, the cost. Go ahead.
Mr. Imrani.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. We have a short report for you that Mr. Sarkis Ovanesian, our acting city engineer and the Public Works Director,
Thank you, Mr. Imrani. Good evening, Mayor Kasakian and members of City Council. In regards to the Maintenance District 6 Pavement Rehabilitation Project, Phase 1, this is a pavement rehabilitation project that is going to take place in the Verdugo Woodlands neighborhood that is located in Maintenance District 6 and is going to be bound by Cañada Boulevard to the east, Verdugo Mountains to the west, Sunshine Drive to the south, and El Rito Avenue to the north. It's going to take approximately 4.8 center line miles of roadway improvements and pavement rehabilitation ranging from full depth reconstruction to slurry seal to roadway resurfacing and other methods. We're going to reconstruct approximately 7,700 lineal feet of damaged curbs and gutters, 4,800 square feet of sidewalks, driveways, cross gutters, alley aprons, and bus paths. There'll be modification and reconstruction of approximately 22 existing curb ramps to meet ADA guidelines. We'll have removal and replacement of existing traffic striping and pavement markings to the latest standards. There'll be an installation of green shared roadway bicycle markings, or B-type sharrows. There'll be planting of 12 new street trees and various sanitary sewer point repairs and lining. For the environmental benefits of this project, we're going to have approximately 7,000 recycled tires diverted from landfills. Another 2,300 tires will be diverted from the landfill and used in the pavement treatment, and approximately 161 tons of asphalt concrete will be also diverted from landfills and used in the roadway infrastructure. Schedule for the construction is anticipated to begin in September of 2022 and be completed in March of 2023. And the current engineer's estimate for this project is approximately $4 million. If you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to entertain
Thank
them.
you. Thank you.
Any questions from my colleagues? Councilmember Brotman and then Councilmember Najarian.
Okay. Yeah, one question. I like this. It's in my backyard, so I'm familiar with all these streets. Just one specific thing. In the report, I think the language says that the sharrows can be greenback sharrows, but I want to confirm that they will be greenback sharrows, and I think that's what I was told in the briefing. So I would just like to make sure that that's definitely the case.
Yes, Councilmember Rubman, that's definitely the case.
Thank you.
Councilmember Najarian.
No, I'm just happy that we have this regular program of street maintenance, and this is a unique neighborhood, Woodlands, and I fully support the project.
All right. Any
Excellent.
of my other colleagues? If there aren't any, I want to just say all is right in the universe because we have our public comment card for our first item. Mr. Milano wishes to speak on this. You will have 3 minutes. Thank you, Sarkis. You may. Don't go far. We may have some need for you yet. Mr. Milano.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Kasakian, members of the City Council. My name is Herbert Molano. It's nice to see everyone back in the public and see the public attending these meetings. It's very refreshing. Brings me back to a lot of good memories. With regard to the pavement condition, I am very glad to see that the city is moving towards a lot of reconstruction that the city has needed for a very, very long time. One of the records that I've used as a reference on the street conditions has been the section towards the end of the financial statements, the annual financial statements, the annual comprehensive financial reports. And if the public were to look at those documents that are available online, they will see pretty much a 10-year history of the amount of road reconstruction in terms of either linear feet or perhaps miles. And if you go back to a report from 10 years ago, you can actually see 10 years before that. So you can actually see a 20-year history of the city's trends with regard to road reconstruction. It's one of the topics that I've talked about a lot and contacted many of the council members with regard to this problem, primarily because I reside south of the 134 freeway, where there's a significant need of reconstruction. What you will find throughout the years is that there are very few miles being reconstructed year after year after year, according to that report. And to my estimate, the city needs to reconstruct around 17 miles per year, every year. So that eventually, maybe in 10 years, nearly 90% of our roads will be at a substantially improved level. So I applaud the City Council for moving forward and addressing this significant need. And I'm glad to be back to address these issues with you. And just one last moment, it was about 20 years ago that Mr. Kasakian came here to speak on February 24th, year 2001, concerning the Armenian genocide. So here it is 20 years later, and you're now on board taking hold of the city's issues. And I'm glad to see that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Milano. Yes, Councilmember Agajanian.
Mr. Molano congratulated us for being back, right?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
but we have to congratulate you too. You are back too, you know?
I stayed safe, and I always carry my mask around with me. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. And I would just like to add that Mr. Imrani has provided this council previously with reports with the overall road conditions. It's been part of the budget discussion, and hopefully we'll be able to dive deeper into that. We've had many discussions about the conditions of our roads. Although we compare ourselves to neighboring cities, and certainly our roads fare better than some of the areas around us, we still have a certain standard to maintain. And I think, last year we did set aside, and during our team building session and visioning session, we did talk about prioritizing this. So we will have more discussions about this. And I would like to know the conditions of certain alleyways, because our alleyways, I think some of them are partially concrete, that are in okay conditions, and the ones that aren't are in so-so, if kind of sadder condition. So as well as incorporating that when we come back for a greater discussion. But on these two items, I will now entertain a motion and a second.
I'll move items 4, D, and E.
Second.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, may we have a roll call?
Councilmember Agajanian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Kasakian.
Yes. Next is City Council and staff comments. Do my colleagues have any comments? Yes.
I do, but I'll defer to.
Okay.
Councilmember Devine and then Councilmember Brotman.
Thank you. Well, I'm going to start out with some happy comments. I want to congratulate the Glendale Library Arts and Culture Commission on being a finalist in the Institute of Museum and Library Services, and this is a federal department 2022 National Medal for a Museum Library Service Award. This is the nation's highest honor bestowed on libraries and museums. Medalists demonstrate significant impact in and service to their communities. So congratulations to Gary Schaefer and staff. No matter whether you win or not, we are very proud of this distinction. You are one of 15, or we are one of 15 libraries in the nation chosen to be finalists. So the winner will be announced in July, and good luck. The other one is a big thank you goes out to Congressman Adam Schiff as he selected our Verdugo Regional Crime Lab to receive a $700,000 grant to expand the forensic testing at the city crime lab. Funds will be used for equipment and technology to decrease turnaround times and increase capacity for our DNA testing, and this will, of course, have an impact on our justice system. I would like to, we had a couple of really good events this weekend. One was the Glendale Education Foundation held their first gala fundraiser since the pandemic to raise funds for local schools, big success. And the other one was the Montrose Shopping Park Association and the La Crescenta Women's Club, who sponsored the ever-popular wine walk. It was completely sold out. It was a beautiful evening. People were walking around, reconnecting. Restaurants were crowded. People were stopping and shopping, and it was a very exciting evening. So it was good to it was a good sign of the rebound here in our city. Third, I had a suggestion from a Rancho resident, and I'd like a second from one of my colleagues if possible, in the interest of the environment, to ask staff to look into the diversion of the horse manure from the Rancho stables. And right now, we pick it up and we take it to the landfill. And so what is being suggested is that perhaps we can take it, instead of to the landfill, to Griffith Park, where it is composted. So if I can get a second on that, I would appreciate it.
Sure, I'm happy to second that.
Okay, thank you. And finally, I regret that my appointment to the Transportation and Parking Commission has had to resign. Asho Agrasin has served well on this commission, and I thank him for that service. But that means that there is an opening on the TPC. So if any of you out there listening, watching, are interested in an appointment to this commission, Transportation and Parking, please be sure that you put in an application to the city clerk, because I will be reviewing those applications in the coming weeks. I would also like to take just a moment to wish everyone a happy Easter and a blessed Passover. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, and again, although I should be more used to this, I made the mistake of, well, we took two items together, but I believe Councilmember Brotman, you had a question on item 4E. Do you wish to still ask that question, and do we need to open the, reconsider the item?
Maybe I'll just speak to some of the points that I wanted to make. I don't think it really is relevant to supporting the item. I think. Can we do
Mr.
that?
Garcia.
I think
what
we
is
want
the
to
procedure?
discuss that, it's probably more appropriate procedurally just to reconsider it, take it up for motion reconsideration, and then
So
Councilmember
procedurally, we have
Brotman.
the prevailing side, which was all of us, would need a first and a second in order to open up discussion again.
Move to reconsider.
Second.
Item
Yeah.
4.
And that needs a roll call, yes.
And can we have a roll call on that?
Councilmember Adjani?
Yes.
Brotman?
Yes.
Devine?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
And Mayor Kasakian.
Yes. Councilmember Brotman, you have the
Okay, and
floor.
my apologies, I didn't realize that they were being approved together. So this is about the Broadway rehabilitation project, and as I looked through the staff report, I saw some things that I thought were a little concerning. I wanted to point them out. One is, I'll mention one of the lines in the staff report, basically says the purpose of the project is to enhance traffic flow, reduce delay, and improve vehicular access on Broadway. And I know this is language we're used to, but it is somewhat problematic, because what it really says is, it says speeding, to me anyway. And the speed limit on this segment is 35 miles an hour, which is already very high for a dense residential corridor. And it suggests maybe traffic volumes are relatively low. And I wanted to see if we could look into the possibility of reducing that speed limit to 30 miles an hour. And that relates to the second point, which is the traffic signal upgrades to improve traffic progression and enhance traffic safety at 3 intersections along Broadway. So here we're modifying the signal timing so that someone can continuously go 35 miles an hour without interruption. And you know, if we were able to do something to slow that traffic, I think it would be consistent with what the public wants. One of the main things I think we all hear is a concern about speeding. And we know when people see a posted limit of 35, they're probably going 40. And we know all the statistics about what happens if somebody is hit going with a vehicle going 40 miles an hour. The chance of injury and death is significantly higher than 35, and that's significantly higher than 30. So just seeing that made me a little bit concerned. And let me just mention two other things, and you can address them all together, if that's all right. We're talking about these high visibility or creative crosswalks at Broadway in Columbus and Broadway in Galleria. What I wanted to ask is if staff could consider two other locations which have, I think, fading crosswalks that should be high visibility crosswalks. One of them is Central and Broadway. The other one is San Fernando and Broadway. I know we're not doing reconstruction at these two locations, but we are going to have people on site, and it may not be that much of an expense to kind of upgrade those. And lastly, the point of 19 new street trees going in, and I think these are all in vacant tree wells. But if you look at that segment, there's really a lot of that roadway which has no shade cover, and that we know is not good for walkability. So what I was wondering is if you could consider more than 19 street trees and maybe identifying some places where there isn't an existing tree well so that we can put more in there. And that's consistent, of course, with the plans that we approved not too long ago to enhance our urban canopy. So those were the 4 points, and maybe you can speak to them. Thank you.
And before you answer, Mr. Oganessian, I want to also allow Councilmember Najarian to make his comments on this, and then you can answer everything at once.
So I wasn't going to say anything, but since this was brought back, I do want to point out that a large portion of this $3 million is coming from Metro. This is in particular the Metro Measure R sub-regional funds. These were funds. This is a sub-regional category that wasn't going to be created. All the money in Measure R was going to go to the big projects, the subway projects, the light rail projects. But it was through advocacy at Metro to make sure that our region, especially regions that don't have those big transit projects in them, are able to receive funding for street improvement and pedestrian improvement and active transportation projects. So I just want to ring that bell.
Thank you, Councilmember Najarian. Mr. Oganessian, would you like to respond?
Yes, thank you for the comments and the questions and the concerns, Councilmember Brotman. So in terms of the improvement of the traffic progression throughout the corridor, that's mainly for the traffic signal improvements at the existing intersections, and that's mainly to address the issues with the Glendale Galleria intersection, which causes a lot of traffic and backup into the corridor. That leads onto Central Avenue and further down onto Columbus when you go north-south on Broadway. Sorry, east-west on Broadway. So the progression is mainly to improve the operations because those are old signals and they have old equipment. So we're going to be installing brand new equipment, brand new video detection cameras, loops, anything that can aid in the progression of that corridor more safely and efficiently, not necessarily fast. It's to get the traffic through the platoon when it builds up and backs up traffic onto the neighboring streets. So that's the main reason for that. In terms of the speed limit reductions, going from 35 to 30, we can definitely look into this as what's called a business corridor district. So we'll have to consult with our traffic section and get back to you on that, and we'd be happy to do so. In regards to the crosswalks that you would like to see studied and implemented as part of this project to take advantage of the economies of scale on Central Broadway and San Fernando and Broadway, we'll definitely take a look at that. We do have a signal modification on Central. It's predominantly to upgrade some of the old infrastructure and paint those poles to make them more aesthetically pleasing. At the same time, we'll look at to see if we can upgrade those crosswalks as well with some high visibility crosswalks. In regards to the tree plantings, The tree plantings are going to take place in vacant locations, not necessarily vacant tree wells. So we've already worked with our urban forester and our maintenance services division to identify the locations and the species, and they've actually identified the 19 new street trees. We can bring it up to their attention to see if we can have some additional street trees planted, but we go through this rigorously with them to identify as many as possible. And so obviously, any opportunity to expend that within the construction budget, we will definitely look into that as well.
If I may just add a couple of things. In terms of the, starting with the trees, since we were talking about that, we do have a tree planting program, as you know, in place that our goal is to get to that 25% canopy coverage throughout the city. So we will look at it in terms of this project. However, even if the funding is not available for additional trees, we do have a robust program in place, $750,000 per year that we're going to expend. And the San Fernando corridor specifically is one of the areas we're targeting to, because that's an area that definitely needs that. And then the same for these two intersections. With the success we've had with the initial the creative crosswalks that we've implemented, we're going through the Library and Arts and Culture Commission for the design of these two. And if there are funding available, we can certainly look at it. However, the council has appropriated some additional funds for us that we can look at additional crosswalks.
Great.
Okay, thank you for those answers. That's great. I'll move the
Yeah,
item.
well,
then.
One moment,
I just-
Councilmember Devine has.
Yeah, I don't want to beat the drum, but you just mentioned that these crosswalks are going through arts and culture. So can you assure me that they're not going to be maroon and gold and USC colors and?
It's not even the USC. I mean, I think some USC folks would take objections to it.
What's wrong with it? What's
It
your
was
point?
just tan and,
Tan and whatever those colors are, but something bright and whatever the arts and culture comes up with. I'm sure it's not going to be those.
Councilmember Devine, members of City Council, we are somewhat bound by MUTCD requirements. However, we are looking at those requirements to see how we can push the envelope.
All right,
So-
let's push.
I will just add to that I had heard the same, that we are somehow bound to those, but
Yeah.
I know that there are cities like West Hollywood where they do have vibrant crosswalks. They have bright colored crosswalks in the colors of the LGBT flag. So I'm just curious as to, how can we, have bright colored crosswalks that reflect the culture and heritage, or some sort of identifying marker for Glendale that, as Councilmember Devine noted, aren't maroon and very muted earth tones. So,
We will be looking at that, Mayor Kasakian. We're looking at some of the other cities, but sometimes, I can't speak to them, but sometimes some cities are not necessarily following the guidelines as we believe they should be, so.
okay, well, sometimes better to ask for forgiveness and permission.
Permission, right.
All right, thank you. And I think that there's some consensus here. So Councilmember Brotman made the motion for us to reconsider 4E. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councilmember Devine. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Agajanian,
Yes.
Brotman,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Najarian,
Yes.
and Mayor Kasakian.
Yes, thank you. Now let's go back to City Council and staff comments. Do any of my colleagues also
Yes.
wish to make comments? Councilmember Brotman.
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to bring up something that we probably all seen. During COVID, there were a handful of restaurants around the city that took their existing parking and converted it to alfresco dining. They just went ahead and did that. I don't think we were too much concerned about it because we really wanted people outside dining. We wanted to help the restaurants. They've been very popular. I think we all know that, and customers want them to continue, but we have a problem because our code doesn't allow it. To go through the process to legalize those on a case-by-case basis, I understand, is very lengthy. It involves the planning commission. It can be challenged. It's probably not the way we want to do it. So I would like to see if staff could look into what kind of code amendments we could make that would allow this type of conversion to take place. I would say we should look at it with a very limited scope. We're just talking about outdoor dining. We're not talking about converting parking areas for storage or any other use. This would really be for outdoor dining. So if I could have a second from one of my colleagues for staff to look into that, I'd appreciate
I'll
it.
second that.
Seconded by Councilmember Devine. Yes, Councilmember Najarian.
Well, I just want to say it's not too early to start talking about Earth Day, which is April 22nd, next Friday, the Friday after this week. And the good agency of Metrolink is offering free rides to everyone all day through our entire 6-county system on April 22nd. You can go down to the beaches in San Diego County. You can go to Bob Hope Airport, to Union Station, out to Riverside, San Bernardino, Antelope Valley, and it's all free in celebration of Earth Day, April 22nd. Brought to you by Metrolink.
Thank you, Councilmember Najarian, for that PSA. I would like to just simply also reiterate some of the accolades that Councilmember Devine mentioned. I want to congratulate our Glendale Library Arts and Cultures Department that was named a finalist for the 2022 National Medal for Museum and Library Service, a very prestigious recognition. Whether they ultimately win or not, just to be in this rare category is an accomplishment. And as I had mentioned during my comments last week, I truly believe that the libraries and combined with arts and culture are the tip of the spear in the fight against ignorance and bigotry and so many of the other ills that plague society. So thank you and congratulations to libraries for the good work that they do. I want to congratulate Glendale Community College for naming their new superintendent president, Ryan Corner, who will be filling the big shoes left behind by Dr. Vire. So congratulations to our friends at Glendale Community College on their selection. We wish them well and much success. Their success is our success. And also Glendale Unified School District Board of Education's president, Shant Sahakian, who was elected to be a delegate for the Assembly of the California School Boards Association, also a prestigious appointment. And we're happy for him and wish him well. I also want to congratulate all of the honorees by Glendale Educational Foundation's annual award ceremony, a gala that has returned to in-person, like much of our events are returning to in-person attendance. It was very exciting as a Glendale High School alum to see that my alma mater was very well represented. There were many Nitros. In fact, I think everyone who was honored that evening had some connection to Glendale High School, so go Nitros. And I was particularly honored to nominate Dr. Andre Panosian, plastic surgeon, doctor who has done incredible work with reconstructive surgery with children in many, many parts of the world. And congratulations to everyone, including the GEF. Montrose Shopping Park had their very successful wine walk last Saturday. I was not able to attend, but I know at least Councilmember Devine did. I don't know if Councilmember Brotman did. Councilmember Agajanian did.
No.
I'm looking at you, Councilmember Najarian. All right, no, you were.
No, I
All
don't
right.
drink.
But since we missed it, we'll be joining them again, I guess in November, they may be having another one. I think I saw that on their website. But congratulations to them on a very successful and well-attended event. Also, there was a first of its kind Made in Armenia festival that was held this weekend. That was also very well attended. It was held at the Vertigo venue on Glen Oaks, and there was entertainment featuring the work of many entrepreneurs and small businesses that are either Armenian or feature made in Armenia products. Also, Glendale Community College had their team internship pilot project final presentations today. Students from Glendale College working with the city on challenges that we're facing. How do we get more people engaged? How do we get underrepresented voices involved in issues such as sustainability? Councilmember Brotman, myself, City Manager Galanian, along with Elena Bolbolian from Management Services, we all attended that, and along with some other of our department heads. I know Mark Young was there, Chief Povolitis and Chief Lanzas. And it was very interesting. We have, as I've always said, our educational institutions are an asset, and we got a lot of feedback. I took some notes, and I'm sure we'll be hearing or seeing some of these ideas come to fruition. Glendale votes, you're seeing the banners go up around the city. Thank you, Mr. Clerk, for that. June 7th, 2022. In case you didn't know, it's election season. It's upon us. So that's a reminder to mark your calendars, to make sure that you are engaged. If you want to know about candidate forums, about the candidates, GlendaleVotes.org is your number one-stop resource for that information. And lastly, after a 2-year hiatus, we have had online virtual events, but on April 24th at 7 p.m. at the Alex Theater, we will be resuming our annual City Armenian Genocide Commemoration event. You can get tickets from itsmyseat.com, and this year it will be featuring Lark Music Academy School, another local great institution, and it will be featuring the music of Gomidas, who was someone who is very important to Armenian culture and heritage, who was one of the intellectuals arrested on the evening of April 24th, 1915. He was, unlike his colleagues and friends, not executed. He survived it, but having suffered a mental break because of what he witnessed, eventually died in Paris in a mental institution. His work, he's the father of ethnomusicology, and his work is truly inspiring, and we will be featuring that. So if you would like to attend something that's evocative, informative, and to connect with neighbors again after a 2-year hiatus, we encourage you to attend that event. That is all. Thank you. I know it was a lot, but we've been gone from these in-person meetings for a while. What is next, Mr. Clerk?
Item 6, community event announcement, 3 minutes portion. I have 1 card and 2 callers on the line.
Thank you. We'll go with the in-person folks first. Josh Christensen, please approach the podium. You'll have 3 minutes.
All right, my name is Joshua Christensen. First off, I'd like to say congratulations to Mayor Hardy Kazakian, and wish you nothing but success in your new position, along with all the council members as well. Wish you guys nothing but success as we continue to open up and start business and continue doing business as usual. My name is Joshua Christensen. Like I said, I'm a resident here at Glendale, and I'm also a representative for the Southwest Regional Council of Carpenters. We represent over 58,000 workers, men and women, who put their boots on and strap their tools around their waist and build the infrastructure and build our America here in Southern California. The reason why we're here today is because it is estimated that construction tax fraud is responsible for cheating communities out of millions of dollars in tax revenue. That millions of dollars are lost in $1 million of lost tax revenue that could be used for building and renovating schools, repairing roads, caring for veterans, sheltering homeless, and funding other essential public programs such as police and fire. The prevalence of construction industry tax fraud has reached crisis levels and must be stopped. This April 11th and 16th through the 16th, Local 661, which covers the Tri-Cities here in Glendale, Pasadena, Burbank, and also the Valley, and the United Brotherhood of Carpenters are taking part in the National Tax Fraud Day of Action. It's a week-long series of events to raise awareness about construction industry tax fraud. The Tax Fraud Day of Action grew out of a widespread outrage about construction industry tax fraud, range from practices where employers evade tax responsibilities in several ways. Often they intentionally misclassify their workers as independent contractors to pay workers on a cash-only arrangement. As a result, their business significantly reduces their tax income and payroll responsibilities and defraud communities out of much-needed tax revenue. Now, as communities are facing budget shortfalls due to the lost sales of tax revenue due to COVID-19. It's more important than ever that we crack down on these bad actors, employers who are stealing from the residents of here in Glendale, California. And We are available for any questions. We stand in solidarity with our brothers, over 500,000 carpenters nationwide. There are rallies today in New York City. There are other major cities along Southern California that are having the same speech and the same message in those city councils as well. And we felt that we wanted to bring this to Glendale because we have a special connection with Glendale City Council, with the city area itself. It's beautiful, and we thank you for your time, and we're here for anything that you guys need. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Devine has a question.
I do. Mr. Garcia, do we have protocol?
Your microphone, please.
I'm sorry. Mr. Garcia, do we have protocol in place that would prevent something like this, that a developer would misclassify?
I would have to look into that, Councilmember Devine. We obviously, when we have agreements like public works contracts, those sorts of things, there are requirements to comply with all applicable laws related to the payment of payroll and such laws.
And Josh, you would like to chime in,
Thank you.
please?
So a lot of agreements, like he said, like in public work projects, it's by law they have to pay all the certified payrolls. They have to be a contractor that has those licenses and stuff like that. This comes in the industry of the private sector. If the city needs help with making some amendments to how they do business, as far as coming into a project agreement with a developer in the city, we have language that's available if the city is interested in it.
Thank you, and thank you for coming, and to the carpenters. The Carpenters Union is one of the earliest unions in the country. I had the privilege of visiting Independence Hall in Philadelphia, and is this correct, Josh, that I mean, I was there, I saw it, and I visited, but the Carpenters Union Guild, the hall, is right next to where the Constitution was drafted.
Exactly.
All right,
Exactly.
so thank you for being the hands that build America.
Thank you. We appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Take care. Thanks for coming. Next.
Edwin, you have 3 minutes. Edwin, go ahead.
Hi, good evening, council members. My name is Edwin. I'm calling regarding renewable energy that I remember the community has called in and opposed the Grayson power plant construction. So my question is, has this city council members ever thought about the idea of installing power generating windmills? The reason I ask that is because I noticed that in the San Francisco Bay Area, there's like a whole bunch of power generating windmills. And what's interesting to learn is that each windmill can generate between 50 kilowatts or more, depending on the size that you buy. So the reason I was asking this, I was thinking that on the two northbound of the freeway, I'm talking about right next to the two freeway, where on the mountains where nobody wants to build a home right near the freeway, I was thinking, how come the city of Glendale doesn't have power generating windmills? That would be a great place to put power generating windmills. And another great place would be is right next to the LA River flood channel within the city of Glendale jurisdiction. And that's my question. Is that something that is considered part of the agenda that you'll be considering? That's my question. Thank you.
Yeah, today would be a good day, I guess, for windmills, but is there any, or for flying a kite? Council, City Manager Galanian, do you have a response or?
Mayor Kasakian, members of City Council, we do have transmission capability that from other regions that do utilize windmills for generating power that gets transmitted to Glendale. But no, as part of our local portfolio, we don't have plans to install windmills.
Thank you. Do we have any other callers for the 3-minute portion?
Mayor, we have one more caller. Ronald, I don't have your last name. You have 3 minutes, Ronald. Go ahead. Sir? Ronald, can you hear me? Ronald, can you hear me?
Going once?
Ronald?
Twice? Sorry. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. All right, next on the agenda is action items. Will you please read 8A1 into the record?
8A, Police Department, regarding Police Department's specialized equipment use policy, 1, urgency ordinance for introduction.
Mayor Kasakian, member City Council, I'm going to invite Sergeant Wofford to present the item for your consideration, and this will be an introduction of an ordinance if approved. Lieutenant, I apologize. You didn't get demoted. I was just kidding.
All right, probably need to be. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Josh Wofford, I'm Lieutenant with the Police Department. Today, I want to talk to you about the specialized equipment use policy. In September of 2021, Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law Assembly Bill 481. The purpose of that bill was to address the funding, acquisition, and use of military equipment as deemed by lawmakers. The policy and the ordinance and our staff report refer to this as specialized equipment. That's because the listed items are not necessarily military equipment. A lot of the items are standard issue equipment across police departments in California and the United States. Some of the items deemed military equipment by Assembly Bill 41 are things like our mobile command posts, such as our RV that you might see at an event in the city, our armored ambulance, which is referred to as our MedCat, other things like our patrol rifles. You have tear gas and you have our pepper balls, but you also have our drones and our robots that we use for mostly SWAT type incidents. Assembly Bill 41 requires law enforcement to seek authorization from their city council by adoption of a specialized equipment use policy through an ordinance at a regular meeting. They need to do this before they can take action on any type of funding for specialized equipment, before they can acquire specialized equipment, and before they can do anything basically in regard to the specialized equipment. The ordinance must be adopted before the police department can request the military equipment, before they can, again, seek funding for it. And these are for new items or existing items. It doesn't matter, we still need to seek that authorization. So this is currently talking about our current inventory of items that we're seeking authorization through ordinance to use. The specialized equipment use policy, it expressly provides that we intend to maintain our current supply levels of specialized equipment. However, we will be seeking council authorization if we try to purchase any type of new item or any type of new item that we want down the road. We'll have to come to council and ask for those items under Assembly Bill 41. Again, with this, we're not seeking any new equipment with this ordinance at all. If the ordinance is adopted, it requires annual review by council of the policy, the inventory, and the ordinance to make sure that the police department is in compliance with Assembly Bill 481. And I'm here to answer any questions if you have.
Are there any questions?
I would like, not question, but I would like to move the item.
Councilmember Brahman, you'll have the floor.
Yeah, a comment and a question, and I brought this up during the briefings. I would have, much preferred to see this come to us, not as an urgency ordinance, but following a kind of an opportunity for the public to understand what these items are, how they're used, how and when they have been used in the past. I understand many of these have probably never been used or haven't been used in decades, but these are things that the public doesn't necessarily understand. And there's, there has been a lot of concern, and I share the concern with police departments, not necessarily ours, but police departments, acquiring a lot of this surplus military equipment and it's generally not a good look, that's just something I wanted to say. I know I got an explanation for why this is happening the way it is, and that it has to come through as an urgency ordinance. And I would just, ask that at the earliest possible opportunity, we have some type of opportunity for us to educate the community about these items. And So that's really more of a statement, not a question. But I do have one question, which is, going forward, so let's say 2 months from now, the department wants to purchase something which is classified as this military-type equipment. Does that go through any kind of a public notice? Does that come to council, any kind of one-off purchase, or, does it not? What's the threshold?
In the policy, that's the part where it says, it expressly states that we have to go to council if we want to get any new equipment, but we do intend to maintain the current supply that we have, because we do use it for training and other stuff. So we will maintain the current supply levels. Anything that extends beyond that or any type of new equipment, we would have to come before council and ask for it.
So if you're using up, let's say, rubber bullets, I don't know, I'm just making that up.
Yeah.
You could replenish that without coming to us, but if you wanted to add a new type of equipment or increase the inventory overall, then you would come to us?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there any other questions or comments?
I just have a comment. I just want to say that, when John Q. Public reads the staff report and we see military equipment, of course, our ears perk up and we right away go into fear mode. What does this mean? Can you explain exactly which equipment is actually military? Are they all military or just certain ones? And are they mostly used by SWAT?
So the equipment in there, I've been in charge of the equipment for a long time, probably a decade now. We don't get any equipment from the military. There is a thing called, I believe it's called the 1099 program, where you can get surplus military equipment. We've purchased everything that we've had. I don't think we've got anything from that program. I've been here 18 years, and I don't remember us purchasing or getting any equipment from the military directly. We buy all of our stuff through our normal purchasing process here in the city, through vendors throughout the state and the nation. But again, we don't get anything at all from the military. The lawmakers defined it that way, even though, again, this is just standard issue equipment for most law enforcement agencies throughout the state and throughout the nation. As far as SWAT goes, some of it is SWAT equipment and some of it is mobile field force. Both of those, we have a national standard for SWAT teams, and we are in line with that. Our policy even states that for the SWAT team. And the same goes for our mobile field force things. It's in line with the peace officer standards and training. So we try to stay within those lines so that we're not too outside of any type of best practices.
Okay. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Councilmember Najarian.
So, Lieutenant, is there anything that you need that's not on this list?
I can't think of anything right now, but I'm sure I'll eventually ask for something. There is new technology that comes out with any type of this equipment. So we're always looking, again, for innovative ideas that we're always looking to see, what's the best way to deal with each situation, because they're all unique and different circumstances.
So please let us know if that's the case. But as is in all cases, I think dedication to training and the way these are used is the key to a successful use of this. We hope, we see these items, we say, well, we hope we never use that. But I start thinking back to, was it Paula Drive? The apartment building in Paula Drive, where the guy pulled out how many automatic weapons and was just spraying the freeway and all that. And certainly you had to use these specialized equipments to apprehend them at that time. So strange things do happen. There are bad people out there, and we want to protect the good people from the bad people. And between the bad people and the good people are you guys. So we appreciate you.
Thank you. Councilmember Agajanian.
I moved
Oh, you moved the item?
Introduction.
It's an introduction?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So it was introduced by Councilmember Devine. That's right. It's an urgency ordinance. And I will just say for my part, oh, sorry, introduced by Councilmember Agajanian. Stand corrected.
Thank you.
And I will just say for my part that to echo the comments of my colleagues, we do unfortunately live in a world where dangerous, terrible things can happen, as has been, again, reminded to us by the tragedy in New York City. Sometimes it's still, no matter how often, sadly and unfortunately, we hear these headlines, it is still jarring. Thoughts and prayers are not enough. I hope our national leaders will really take into account what is leading to these types of incidents, what is ailing us as a nation, where people feel the need to act out in horrendous acts of violence this way. But my mind also goes back to when I was a young man and remember the North Hollywood bank robbery in the Valley, which I think is now part of, the infamous lore of our country, where police officers responding to an incident, to a bank robbery, were outgunned. It turned into a firefight, the likes of which we only see about in the news now, in far-off places like what's happening in the Ukraine or in other war zones like in Artsakh. So we want to make sure that our police are adequately equipped in the rare, an absolute rare instance where something like that should befall our community, and hopefully it never does. So with that, the urgency ordinance was introduced by Councilmember Devine, which will come back for adoption, and then will go into effect immediately because it is an urgency ordinance. Is that correct? I'm Agajanian. I apologize. See, I do it on purpose, so I keep bringing up your name, Councilmember Agajanian.
That's fine. It
All
happens.
right. The next item, 8B, which is a report from Management Services for the consideration of a public monument in recognition of the Armenian genocide, will not be heard this evening. It will be pushed out either to next week or a date to be determined. What is next, Mr. Clerk?
Item 8C, Public Works regarding request for proposals for the design and build of the removal of the underground storage tanks at Ginger Bremberg's Integrated Waste Management Yard project. One, resolution authorizing the Director of Public Works or designee to issue a request for proposal using the design-build project delivery method for the removal of underground storage tanks at Ginger Bremberg's Integrated Waste Management Yard project, and authorizing the Director of Public Works to solicit for proposals.
Thank you. And for anyone wondering who Ginger Bremberg was, she was a former mayor and council member. Mr. Galani, take it away.
Mayor Kasakian, member of City Council, I'm going to ask Mr. Amrani, Director of Public Works, for a brief presentation on this item.
Thank you, Mr. Galanian. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, this is a project that is going to take care of removal of our last vestige of fuel that we had used previously when our fleet was using diesel at the Integrated Waste Management Yard. So we are requesting council's approval because we're going with a design-build approach for issuing an RFP to remove 3 underground storage tanks, 2 diesel dispensers, and 1 hydraulic fluid tank, fuel island, and canopy. So this is before you, and we are respectfully requesting approval so we can go out for an RFP on a design-build approach.
Yes, Councilmember Agajanian.
How big are the tanks? Do you know?
I don't know offhand, but I can find out for you.
And how old are the tanks? Anybody knows? Because you have to, I know, to remove the tanks, you have to do major tests on the bottom of the tanks, and that will take for a long time. That is not going to bother your operation at all?
These underground storage tanks, I don't believe are leaking. You're correct. If they were leaking, we would have to do remediation, phase 1 and phase 2 remediation.
Even if it's not leaking, you have to do the test. I went through that, so I know.
Mayor Kasakian, member of City Council, Councilmember Agajanian, you are correct on private establishments. However, we, on a regular basis, on a weekly, monthly, quarterly, and yearly basis, do test these tanks, and we need to report it to the state. So up until now, we have been testing and reporting, so it should be in good condition. That's not going to require remediation.
Okay, thank you.
I'll move the item.
Is there a second? Second. Moved by Councilmember Devine this time and seconded by Councilmember Agajanian. May we have roll call?
Councilmember Agajanian?
Yes.
Brotman?
Yes.
Devine?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
And Mayor Kasakian.
Yes. May we have item 10A read into the record?
10 would be reports, and 10A would be organic recycling update.
Mayor Kasakian, members, City Council, as it was read into the record, this is an information-only item. We will not be seeking direction from council. However, we'll be happy to respond to question. As you know, effective April 1st, the new state legislated mandate for organics recycling took effect. And there's been some confusion amongst the community members, as well as a large number of questions that you have received, I've received, and the department have received. So in an effort trying to clarify some of that confusions and respond to those questions, Mr. Emrani will go through a presentation that also includes a 2-minute video clip as a public service announcement. Mr. Emrani?
Thank you, Mr. Galanian, Mr. Mayor, members of City Council. I have a short presentation that's going to cover the highlights of our organics recycling, followed by that video that was previously mentioned. So the organics recycling update. There we go. This was because of the Senate Bill 1383 that went into effect January 1st of 2022, requiring really all municipalities in the state of California to implement and enforce the organics recycling starting in 2022. It requires a lot of outreach and education because it's different than what we had done before. Whereas before we put all of our food waste into the trash bin and it's going to the landfill, now we are required to separate that and put it with our yard trimmings in our what we call organics bins, basically. This legislation also requires the food waste generators, restaurants, to donate their leftover edible food as well. So what goes in the green cart? Here's a list of the items that can go in and the items that are unacceptable. Things such as food scraps or paper products, meat, poultry, bread, cheese, coffee grounds and filter, cups, paper products, pasta, grains, rice, as well as the yard trimmings. Things that are not acceptable are bathroom facial tissue or wipes, compostable cups or utensils, flower pots, human and animal waste, and other items. All of these by... Sure.
Sorry. may I ask a
Councilmember
question?
Brotman.
Yeah, I noticed a card came in the mail for all of us, and it had this, and what I thought was strange is on what can go in, it doesn't mention vegetables and fruit peels, and a lot of what we put I mean, I have a pail at home, a lot of what I put in is, you know, carrot tops and all that kind of stuff. Is there some reason why we left it off here?
I can't think of it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I thought that was funny. So obviously that does go in there.
That does go into organics,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, if we could maybe just
We can
amend
update
that,
it.
that'd be
Yes,
great.
absolutely.
And I have a question too. What if we don't have this green? When will we be getting the green?
So we are
Cart.
starting we have about 88,000 carts that we're going to replace throughout the city. We're starting the phase 1 of this in May. The rollout, it's going to take probably about 2 years, and we're going with we've divided the city into 5 different areas, and we're starting to do the phase 1 and phase 2 in fiscal year 22-23 and finish hopefully 23 and 24.
So if we don't have the green cart, we put it in the gray.
Yes.
Okay, so everyone heard that? I'm asking for myself because I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. So if you don't have a green cart, then you can put all of your organic waste in your gray cart with your paper, cardboard, all of that?
It would go into your yard trimming,
Oh, yard
in
trimming.
the yard
Oh.
trimmings, not the recyclable.
Well, then it goes into the green, wait.
Yeah,
It
still
does
in the
go into
green.
the.
green.
Okay, it is green, okay, sorry. I thought,
But does,
therein lies the confusion.
did you mean that there will be new carts, new green carts?
We will do a rollout and do a wholesale replacement for everybody throughout the city. And along with that, I also brought, kind of as a show and tell, this is not exactly the pail that everybody will be getting, but it would be something similar to this that we will deliver with the rollout. However, if you're like in the phase 2 or phase 3 of our program, you can call us and we'll be happy to deliver this pail to you as well. So you can store all your organic food in the pail, and then, as I'll explain, you can then add it to what we are recommending is a clear plastic bag, and or a compostable plastic bag, either way, and then put that line your pail with it, and then when the time comes, just tie it and throw it into your green waste.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councilmember Agajanian.
is that bin, or that's the right size? Is that the right size?
This is not exactly the size that we're going to distribute, or the shape is just a sample that I have, because we haven't taken delivery of
Because
our
that's too small.
pails.
Well,
It's
that-
not going to
that
be
could
too big, but it's going to be roughly the same size.
That could be like for one day. For one day, and then you dump it, and then you bring it back
Sure.
in, and
Absolutely.
Continue.
Other questions? So as I mentioned, it should be, we were recommending to bag it in a see-through bag. So that way, when it gets to the processing facility, the food scraps can be seen by the operator over there. Of course, allows the separation of food waste from the yard trimmings. So it's important to be in a bag, and allows the waste sorting staff to visually screen for contamination. So if somebody's put in, something that shouldn't be going into to the plastic bag, they can separate that out at the processing facility. And last but not least, what kind of bags? Again, any clear plastic trash bag or kitchen bag or compostable or biodegradable bags. However, it should be noted that these bags will be torn and emptied at the processing facility, and the bags will be sent to the landfill at this point.
Mr. Imrani?
Yes.
So the question has come up by residents that as we're trying to move away from the proliferation of plastic, yet here we are putting things in plastic bags. What is the rationale, logic behind that? And for how long will we be using plastic bags to dispose of this waste?
That is a great question, Mr. Mayor. We've posed that to our haulers as well as to the county landfill at 20 Hills, the processing facility. Currently, this is the standard that they have. Unfortunately, I fully expect that in the near future, we'll be able to move away from these, but we don't have a timeline for that just yet. This is a new law that actually just went to effect in January 1st. So it's going to take a little bit of time before we get there.
Can we look into the purchase of biodegradable, compostable bags, as we have given out grocery bags to reusable grocery bags to the public before? Perhaps we can invest in having some to be able to distribute at various events and places where we have gatherings to encourage the use of biodegradable and compostable bags versus the plastic bags, which could, I'm sure that our haulers will take every care to make sure that it doesn't end up in the environment outside of where they're intended to be. But we've all driven along a highway and seen one snagged on a bush on the side of the road, or we know of the massive island of plastic floating in the middle of the Pacific. It would be great if we could at least lead the way in making sure that folks are investing in the right type of bag.
Mr. Mayor, we can certainly look at it. However, we've asked this question, and for example, Puente Hills does not distinguish between, they can't distinguish between a regular plastic bag or biodegradable bag. What they're going to do at those processing facilities is just simply tear up the bag and then send them to the landfill. And they can't verify whether it's biodegradable.
They may not be able to verify it, but nature will, right? So one will biodegrade and one won't. And as much as we can at least have some on hand to be able to have it eventually disappear, that would be, I think, beneficial to all of us. I mean, I certainly, in looking at this directive, And I realize it's onerous to some. It's certainly semi-confusing to me, and I'm trying to understand it. I'm going to try and look into having some of the biodegradable bags available. I don't know if any other of my colleagues have.
Well, I'm
comments on that.
thinking that can we buy these compostable or biodegradable bags at Home Depot or at Vaughn's, or, so we can get them?
Absolutely,
So the
they're
public can
available.
buy them, go out and buy them and use those. Okay.
Yeah.
Here's your solution.
Councilmember.
Yeah, I want to say something, because I've been thinking about this and a lot and talking to Mr. Imrani about it. So it's a two-edged sword. If you use a compostable bag, it's going to end up going into the landfill. It's going to biodegrade, yes, but it's going to produce methane because it's going to be an anaerobic process, which is the whole point of SB 1383, is to not produce the methane. So it's like, you can't win, right, whatever you do.
Yeah.
So I think actually the best thing, what I'm going to start doing is, when you get those produce bags at the grocery store, just save them. Don't throw them out and use them. They're clear, and obviously they already exist, so you're not creating a new bag. And maybe, somebody also had a creative idea. They said they get a newspaper in a plastic bag, so just take that plastic bag. The best thing I think for the community to do is just try to reuse bags that would otherwise get thrown away. But it is frustrating, I know. It's like, I was thinking the same thing and I kept saying to Mr. Imrani, no, we need to use compostables. And then he said, well, it's going to still go in the landfill. It's going to make methane, so here we are.
So some of my relatives who have a penchant for hoarding plastic bags that we discouraged have now come full circle, and they can start hoarding it again. Thank you. Well, those were just my thoughts, and I understand that concern, but, and as much as we can minimize the damage, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Yes, we have a video?
Do we have a video? Yes.
Did you know that 40% of the trash we put in landfills is organic waste? This organic waste not only emits 20% of California's methane, a major contributor to climate change, but other air pollutants that contribute to health issues like asthma. To help reduce these emissions, a new California law called SB 1383 requires local governments to keep organic waste out of landfills. You might be asking, what's the best way to keep organic waste out of the trash? Recycling, of course. To comply with this new requirement, Glendale Public Works is launching an organics recycling program. This program will require that organic waste collection services be provided to all Glendale residents and businesses. That said, your green trash bin typically used for yard trimmings will also be your organics bin. So, what are organics? Organics include materials like yard trimmings, which you already collect, as well as food scraps and food-soiled paper, such as towels and napkins. Now let's get into the nitty-gritty details of what kinds of trash you can place into the organics recycling container. Fruits, beans, bread, cheese, coffee grounds and filters, eggs, grains, pasta, pastries, rice, vegetables, or any leftover food. You may be wondering, what do I, as a Glendale resident or business, need to do? It's easy. Beginning April 1st, 2022, homes serviced in the city should place food scraps in a clear, see-through plastic bag, then throw that bag into your green yard trimmings container. Businesses and commercial accounts may need to request a new collection container for their property. Please visit glendaleca.gov/hauler to get in contact with your franchise hauler. By recycling organics, we can all help reduce Glendale's carbon footprint. Please contact Public Works Integrated Waste with any questions by emailing recycle@glendaleca.gov. Thank you for reducing waste in Glendale.
Question.
Councilmember Devine.
Did she say paper towels with food on it?
Yes, ma'am.
Soiled? Okay.
So, practical question, probably one of the more common items, pizza boxes. They're large. I don't think they'll fit into a small grocery bag. What do we do with them, Mr. Imrani?
Mr. Mayor, that's a very good question, and for pizza boxes, actually, you have a choice, because the top part mainly may not be contaminated. So that top part can go into the, if you separate it out, it can go into the recycling bin. And then the bottom part, which is usually greasy and soiled, can be folded and put into the, it doesn't have to be put into the bag, it can be put into the yard trimming.
More visible and maybe
More
can be
visible on the
separated.
side.
Okay, that's good to know. I think more people will probably having that issue than anything else. And then with this ad, which again, staff, good job, will be, I know we can rely on subtitles, but will we be translating this into different languages and spreading it and giving it to different language media?
Absolutely. We have translated it and to currently Spanish and Armenian. And we are going to also, in addition to these materials and having it on our website, we are having a webinar, our second webinar. Our first webinar was on March 1st, and our second webinar is going to focus on recycling and go into depth. And it's a Q&A format, so people can call in and ask questions, and we'll have our experts on there, and that can call in and basically ask questions.
Great. And as much as we can do it also in Korean or Tagalog, that would be very helpful.
We will also add that.
And maybe we should add the pizza box information on the PSA.
Absolutely.
That's,
Absolutely.
because that's really I didn't know that. So,
That was a very good question. And if I may, Mr. Mayor, add one more thing. When I was talking about the rollout of these new bins, we are going to replace what you already have with these newer bins. So you're not getting a fourth bin. It would be just the same 3 bins. However, for commercial establishments or apartment complexes that have not had an organic bin before, they are required to sign up for organic bin. They will be getting a new bin.
Great. So again, apartments that had not had one before will have to sign up and get one.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yes.
So the apartment buildings, then they are not going to put with the, the house we do for grasses, and so it will be separate bin for commercial use?
It would be, they have a regular for trash and recycling, and effective April 1st, they are required to sign up and receive a new organics bin as well.
So the tree trimming will be separate than for the apartment building?
No, it would be the same. So tree trimming or food waste, they all go into that organic bin.
Okay, so then the houses are same as the commercial buildings then, apartment buildings, right?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Member City Council, Councilmember Agajanian, there are apartment buildings that currently don't have that green yard bin for yard trimming. So in that case, what Mr. Imrani was saying, they need to sign up to receive a new bin.
All right. There's no other questions or comments? Thank you for that informative report. And with that, the council business is over. We have oral communications now. Mr. Clerk?
What would be oral communications? Discussion is limited to items that are part of this agenda, council. Council may question or respond to the speaker, but there will be no debate or decision. The city manager may refer the matter to the appropriate department for investigation and report. There is one caller.
Thank you.
Liz, you're live. Liz Radley, you have 5 minutes, Liz.
Thank you. I'll take much less than that. Good evening, Mayor and Council members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. I'm Liz Radley, a Glendale Riverside Rancho resident of 25 years and co-admin of the popular Burbank Glendale Griffith Park Community Group and Facebook page. I also teach at the Los Angeles Equestrian Center. I spoke last week about the unique qualities of the rancho and the horse overlay zone, and to support Council Member Devine's call for review of the ADU regulations to protect horsekeeping for the future. There is a Los Angeles Equine Advisory Committee. It was created in 2008 to assist the City Council itself, plus interacting with other organizations, residents, and businesses in addressing equine issues in that city. We are currently forming our own Glendale Rancho Equine Advisory Committee with an equestrian-related board of specifically Glendale Rancho residents and business owners. We want you and other organizations to have resources that are within the community itself. Of course, you'll always be welcome at any of our meetings if you'd actually like to meet us. We're endorsed by the Glendale Rancho Neighborhood Association. I hope Joanne Hedge will be able to call in, but it sounds as though it's just me today. We will also address essential issues such as emergency preparedness for fire or earthquake. Our residents need to know where they can take their horses in an emergency such as the Griffith Park fire, which may blow heavy smoke and embers across our area. I expect this to be outside Glendale. As discussed with Councilmember Devine last week, and in keeping with the spirit of organics recycling starting this month, let's explore the possibility of composting horse manure from the rancho. Right now, it's picked up by Waste Management with the weekly refuse collection and taken to the landfill. Because of manure's weight, for the resident, there's an extra $64 monthly charge for the first horse, then less for additional horses, and we're literally throwing it away. In the city of LA, local horsekeeping areas such as Atwater Village, the residents' horse manure is taken by the city directly to the composting facility in Griffith Park. The residents pay a small fee each month for the pickup service and nothing for the disposal as it's being composted. The horse manure from the Los Angeles Equestrian Center is composted on site there and sold. Perhaps we can find a way that the city of Glendale and its residents can use locally produced compost instead of buying it from outside Glendale. Glendale horses could be fertilizing Glendale soil. Our website is not yet up, so in the meantime, if you wish to reach out, please email to ranchohorses@gmail.com. That's ranchohorses@gmail.com. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Radley. And at last week's meeting, Councilmember Devine did actually request tonight? You made the request? Yeah, and made the request tonight for that as well, the horse manure issue. And last week it was the ADU issue. So we'll be revisiting that issue at a later time. And I believe Councilmember Brotman may have seconded that. With that, the next caller is...
We do have a caller by the name of Edwin. He did speak during the 3-minute portion.
So I'll listen to see if it's the same Edwin. There could be possibly two Edwins, but if it's the same Edwin that called before, just procedurally, we split oral communications into two sections. And the reason for that is for people who have other obligations, who cannot wait for the end of the meeting to be able to address council on items that are not a part of the agenda. They are afforded a limited portion for 3 minutes at the beginning out of consideration for people's schedules and their ability to participate. But that does not allow for people to get 2 bites at the apple, because that would essentially afford people 8 minutes of oral communication time, which was not the intent of this practice when council adopted it. So Edwin, did you speak before? If it is you, say so.
Yeah, I did speak.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm sure we will hear again from you next week, and if you wish to speak for 5 minutes, then you can wait to the end of the council meeting and have your full 5 minutes for oral comment.
Sure.
And so this has been a teachable moment brought to you by your city council. So with that, since there is no more business, we have new business. I will turn it over to Councilmember Najarian.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the city attorney be and hereby is authorized to resolve the lawsuit entitled Mikhail Badalian versus the city of Glendale et al., case number 2.20-CV-08089-JWH-JEM in exchange for a full release of all claims in the amount of $50,000. The settlement is not an admission of liability whatsoever for any wrongdoing with respect to the plaintiff and defendant or by any person or department, but it is the compromise of a disputed claim.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
May we have roll call?
Councilmember Agajanian?
Yes.
Brotman?
Yes.
Devine?
Yes.
Najarian?
Yes.
And Mayor Kasakian.
Yes. Thank you very much. May we have a motion to adjourn and a second?
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Thank you. We will see you next week. Good night and good luck.